TV Africa, your first in housing development broadcasting.
Number one, housing development progress. Number one and the best. Housing development progress. Number one. Number one, housing development progress. Number one and the best. Housing development progress. Number one, housing development progress in Nigeria. Housing development progress in Africa. Housing development program and the globe. Number one, housing development program.
The impact of insufficient energy on housing supply is profound, rooted in a long-standing energy crisis characterized by unreliable power grid, frequent outages, and inadequate infrastructure. With a rapidly growing population and urbanization rate, the demand for housing has increased, worsening the strain on an already fragile energy system. As a result, many households and businesses face electricity shortages, hindering economic development and the quality of life. In response to this challenge, people are increasingly turning to alternative energy sources, particularly renewable energy technologies, to power their homes. How sustainable is this? Good to have you join me on today's episode of Housing Development, your go-to source for housing information in Nigeria and beyond. As always, I am your housing diva, Flora Ani. The news making rounds in the housing sector is coming up next.
In a recent interview with Newsmen, the Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development in Lagos State, Dr. Oluyinka Olumide, revealed that 80% of buildings in Igbeju-Lekki have no approval. During inspections in the area, Olumide and his team found numerous estates without required permits, attributing the issue to a lack of awareness about zoning regulations, especially regarding agricultural land use. Emphasizing the importance of adherence to the approval process, Olumide stressed the necessity of obtaining zoning, fencing and layout permits to ensure construction project suitability and safety. He underscored that layout permits are dependent on zoning compliance, urging stakeholders to prioritize regulatory requirements to mitigate risks associated with unauthorized construction. Africa's largest housing and construction exhibition and conference, the Africa International Housing Show, is set to take place in a larger venue than the International Conference Center, ICC, in Abuja, Nigeria. Some of the reasons the Africa International Housing Show AIHS must move to a larger venue include rapid growth in participation, space limitations at the current venue ICC, an opportunity presented by the closure of the ICC for renovations, the necessity for enhanced facilities, and the aim to ensure smooth operations and accessibility for all attendees. Over the years, the AIHS has experienced rapid growth, evolving from just 20 exhibitors to now accommodating over 400 exhibitors as of the last count in 2023. This surge in participation reflects the increasing interest and investment in Africa's housing and construction sector.
For more housing, finance, and construction news, do well to visit www.africanhousingnews.com. Energy plays a most vital role in the economic growth, progress, and development, as well as poverty eradication and security of any nation. Uninterrupted energy supply is a vital issue for all countries today. Future economic growth crucially depends on the long-term availability of energy from sources that are affordable, accessible, and environmentally friendly. As the conversation on energy transition continues, let's hear what some experts in the built and energy environment have to say.
Nigeria, a powerhouse in Africa both economically and demographically, continues to face a significant challenge: energy poverty. Despite its abundant clean and unclean energy resources, the nation struggles with frequent electricity grid collapses and unstable power supply. It has become imperative for Nigeria to explore alternatives that are not only reliable but also sustainable and eco-friendly. The traditional reliance on fossil fuels and conventional energy sources has proven unsustainable, contributing to environmental degradation and worsening energy poverty. An engineer and renewable energy specialist spoke on the urgent need to move to renewable energy sources, enumerating the environmental and economic benefits of renewable energy.
It's not rocket science. You know that basically for every facility, so as long as it's accommodated for human use, so that for business, commercial, residential, you must use energy to power it. And we know the situation in the country that the grid is not sustainable for many reasons, okay? There are challenges in every sector, so it's not only peculiar with the power industry. So by and large, for you to have a facility where there is level of comfort and activities working seamlessly, you need to have an incessant supply of power. So if, for example, you have a building and the grid supply is, interruptive, you will need to have an alternative. So that alternative must also be sustainable. Sustainability is in threefold. One, it should be available 24/7. Two, it should be available over the period of years. In other words, whatever it takes to keep the system running, the fuel should be available, spare parts should be available, technology should not be outdated. And then finally, it should be pricey. The price should be competitive with the grid. Because if it is more expensive than the grid, then I'll go for the grid, if the grid is available. If it is way too expensive, then business cannot be done. So that's the relationship between both. You really can't divorce them. So sustainability is not only in energy, even in business. You have sustainable energy, sustainable business formats. It must be, so you can't separate both. Both need to marry themselves at this present state now.
Addressing energy poverty in Nigeria requires a concerted effort from all sectors of society, with the building industry playing a crucial role in driving sustainable change.
My name is Robert Hornsby with American Home Builders of West Africa. Keep watching Housing Development Program.
You're watching Housing Development. Now we turn to Voices on the Street to get the views of individuals on energy transition in Nigeria.
The country is introducing renewable energy. How I wish most of the developers would build houses and install solar installation in it and add a price to it. That could have helped reduce the issue of power crisis. There are some areas till today I don't have any idea of light. Some people cannot even watch NTA or AIT, know what is happening in the country. And the government is facing crisis of removal of subsidy, which life is not easier for people. People are finding it not easy to cope up. So we are still appealing to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that let it be that his Renew Hope agenda we add to so many things that will ease life.
This is the time for alternative energy. For us to look out for alternative energy supplies like solar, wind turbine or others like that.
Other countries have started. You just that Nigeria is really running behind schedule because most of other countries have started. Although we've started here, but it has not gone that viral like that. Like some other rural areas don't even know what solar is. So I think it's high time the government comes to assist on that. Since we cannot help in the other aspect, let them also help to subsidize the aspect of solar. It will still help us.
How many people can afford the solar? That is the question. How many people? All we do is just make these people efficient and then distribute the power. The other day they told us their energy generated, but the distribution is the problem. But the people they gave this into distribute to people are not ready to give the powers. They only interested in collecting money. If we are generating and then we are giving power to Niger and other small African countries, then it's even a business. If they can generate 250, 200 megahertz and they give to other African countries, we generate a lot of money. But because of our corruption in the system, nobody is thinking about this. Is 4,000 megawatts. How many years? Since 1999.
Nigeria we've come to a stage that we should start looking at renewable energy because other countries like South Africa are using it, and most of the countries that have stable power supply that we are looking up to, most of them are equally are using renewable energy. So I think Nigeria should use that, since in Sub-Sahara we have adequate sunlight that can power our.
I've been using solar for over 4 years in my house, so I've never had any difficulties in terms of power. So solar will be the best. It's the best.
Throughout the world, electricity is the most widely used and desirable form of energy. It is a basic requirement for economic development, national development, meeting the Millennium Development Goals, and an adequate standard of living. As a country's population grows and its economic expands, its demand for electrical energy multiplies. If this demand is not met adequately, a shortage in supply occurs. This shortage can assume crisis proportion and possibly affect achieving sustainable energy development. This necessitates an urgent need for alternative energy sources and efficient energy usage to avert the looming energy crisis. Housing Development had a chat with the Managing Director of Blue Camel Energy or Renewable Energy. Let's take a watch.
Renewable energy is highly taxed. There is no incentive by the government. There is no tax relaxation. You know, we're paying VAT, we're paying increased import duties and all kinds of harassment from all the government agencies on taxes. You know, so for a country that is suffering lack of energy or electricity, I think the government needs to be very deliberate about subsidizing. We're not talking about those subsidies we see in billions of dollars and papers and managed by agencies and ministries that eventually you don't know where the money gets to. We are the practitioners in the field, and the government should find a way of reaching out directly to us. We don't even have data on how many kilowatt of solar we're installing every day. Because a lot of the solar components come in through smuggling, so we don't even have data to say every day. But believe me, if government has the data, you realize that, you know, perhaps on a daily basis, what we're installing is probably close to 1 megawatt every day, or even more, you know, cumulatively. You know, so that's the second challenge. There is a need for government to find a way to support, you know, to provide some incentives. Then, thirdly, substandard products. Of course, I see with the collaboration of some international agencies with Standard Organization of Nigeria, There's been very improved efforts towards ascertaining what should come in and what should not come in. But Nigerian factor is still there. A lot of products that are coming from Asia, they're not supposed to be in this country. Nigeria is just a dumping ground. We don't have any strong agency or any enforcement that goes around to identify what is not supposed to come in here. So a lot of substandard products are coming into the country, and they are resulting to a whole lot of failures, especially when you look at street lighting. You see street lights that are installed after 2 years, they're down because we don't have an agency that can understudy, checkmate and regulate. Of course, I'm not saying SON is not doing their work, but I think SON should be designed to be as aggressive as EFCC.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Huh? What is it again?
Oga, and they drive this car, my mind no dey. My landlord is on my neck.
Your landlord again? I thought I have told you this before. Get a mortgage, register with NHF scheme, and get a home up front. What is so difficult about this?
Oga, I will do just that. See, I will shame that my landlord. Mortgage.
At the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, everyone deserves a home.
Welcome back. You're watching Housing Development. At this point, let's take a visit to Karumadigi community in Abuja to get first-hand information on their living condition.
Housing TV Africa visited the residents of Karumadigi village affected by the previous demolition, which left many homeless. Speaking to the residents about their living condition in the area, our correspondent discovered that some landlords and landowners were ripped of their property and source of income for some. Mrs. Salami, who is a single mother of 3, lamented over a dilapidated house which was exposed to danger.
They were trying to help us because of demolition, especially we don't have a house like this. We are managing our life, so we don't know when demolition is coming to Karumadigi, but I think because of the kind of environment we are.
She added that the house she rented previously was built on a suckaway and as such collapsed into the ground, leaving her and her children homeless.
We thank God. It was not my wish to stay for this kind of environment, but when I'm renting house before, I have a case that the man I'm renting house, which is my landlord, I don't know that he built on top of a suckaway. So the time we discover, I now sick down, me with 3 kids. So I don't know where to run to. So I'm the owner of the land. I now run to Panteka to get some wood to build this place so that I can use it to survive my life. Me and my with 3 kids. Even when rain is falling, there's no way I can survive, and I won't sleep. I wake up, even at midnight, I wake up and be taking care of my children.
Our correspondent went further to meet with Mr. Ikechukwu's success, his wife and 3 kids. He was affected by the previous demolition at Mabuchi village, which rendered a lot of people homeless and made him run to Karumadigi for shelter over his family.
Well, actually, it was emergency demolition that brought me in this place, actually, when I was staying in Mabuchi. Fortunately, the demolition came without notice. So, when I traveled from my dad's burial, I came back. I couldn't meet a house that I'm paying, rented actually there. I miss the property there. I started from square one actually, booked my barbering salon there too. So fortunately, when I came back from my dad's burial, I met the demolition challenge with a family. There's no place to keep my family actually, and I cannot be putting an effort to be looking for money and paying in an apartment or hotel because it's not really easy to pay a lodging in an apartment. So I look a while to have to dig hard to find money to rent a house. The houses here actually is very expensive. The blocks house
The rooms you'll be here 150, a safe container you here 250. So unfortunately, this is where I cut my finger. I cut my coat according to myself when my finger reach to pay based on these children to have a shelter. Because I can't stay with them under the street or under the bridges or sleep in the street.
He stated in an interview with our correspondent that the demolition came to him unexpected and as such didn't give him much time to prepare ahead, thereby making him feed from hand to mouth. He added that living in the trenches is as a result of the bad condition he found himself. Mr. Ikechukwu, and other resident of Karumajuju village, believes that one day Karumajuju will be developed with good roads and good houses with a better living condition.
Actually, I see that this place will be a very good standard development place actually, if anybody feel like he determined that he want to stay to develop something.
With the renewed hope of the president, we solicit that they bring out a better building development plan that will accommodate the rural areas in the Federal Capital Territory. With the renewed hope of the president, we solicit that they bring out a better building development plan that will accommodate the rural areas in the Federal Capital Territory.
Housing is a fundamental human need essential for individuals and families to thrive and participate fully in the society. However, ensuring adequate and affordable housing remains a challenge in many parts of the world due to factors such as population growth, urbanization, and economic inequality. Against this backdrop, Perfection Real Estate Group had a housing conference with the theme, Affordable Housing in Nigeria, Possibility, Probability of Luck. Let's have a look.
Considering the dynamics of the Nigerian economy over the years, the subject of affordable housing continues to trigger mixed reactions from different quarters of the populace. Recently, Perfection Real Estate Group had a 3-day housing conference with experts and stakeholders in the housing industry to discuss and analyze the prospects of affordable housing in Nigeria with the theme, Affordable Housing in Nigeria, Possibility, Probability of Fluke. Amongst invited key players in the housing industry as guest is the Lagos State Governor, who was represented by the Commissioner for Housing, Moruf Akinderu Fatai, His Royal Majesty, Oba Olusegun Ebenezer Oyiri, the Olosoroko of Osoroko Kingdom in Ibeju, Lekki, with his wife, and Senator Anthony Adefuye graced the conference amongst others.
The theme of this conference, Affordable Housing in Nigeria, Possibility, Probability of Fluke. Could it be more timely or relevant? Affordable housing is not just a basic necessity, it is a fundamental human right. Yet, for far too many Nigerians, it remains an elusive dream. Before I proceed, it is imperative to recognize that the challenge of affordable housing extends far beyond the borders of Nigeria. Across the globe, from bustling metropolises to remote villages, millions of people face daunting reality of inadequate and unaffordable housing. The global housing scheme, the crisis, is reaching critical proportions, with projections suggesting it could impact a staggering 1.6 billion people by the year 2025.
Giving a presentation on the importance of advocacy in Nigeria, the Executive Director of Housing Development Advocacy of Nigeria, HDAN, and convener Africa International Housing Show, AIHS, Festus Adebayo, emphasized on the importance of advocacy in solving the housing problems in Nigeria.
Advocacy is a powerful tool for driving change and addressing societal challenges. In the context of housing, advocacy plays a crucial role in ensuring that every individual has access to decent shelter and affordable homeownership. This, my paper, exploits the concept of advocacy and its role in addressing housing shortages in Nigeria.
A discussion session was held on the possibility and probability of affordable housing in Nigeria, with different speakers representing different sectors in the housing industry. They gave an in-depth analysis of the way forward.
I like to give these statistics. I'm a strong advocate of environment. And I mean, environment to a large extent influences your thought pattern. It influences the way you think. And so if environment is not ideal, an ideal environment for me is an environment that will boast of basic amenities and infrastructures.
There are no affordable housing right now. That's just the truth. No matter how Usani and a couple of other developers are trying, it is not realistic. And it all boils down to first thing, corruption. Now, it's so bad. Like he was saying earlier, it has eaten into the entire system. It's that bad. So, I feel like before we start putting the whole corruption, quote and unquote, on the entire government, we should start with ourselves. Everyone in this room. How are we playing a part to this?
Part of the Mr. Governor's agenda, the Teams Plus, we have housing is key. And I've come from the Ministry of Housing, and our own major objective is to provide affordable housing for the citizenry of Lagos State. And for government, we've done so much in providing this housing. All the 5 divisions of the Lagos State, we built houses there.
The housing conference by Perfection Real Estate Group ended with mind-blowing initiatives and innovations on ways on how to provide affordable housing to Nigerians.
That is it on today's episode of Housing Development. Thanks for watching. Know that there is always more on housing development. So keep a date, same time, same station, next week. I remain Flora Ani, your housing diva. Do have a pleasant day ahead.
Housing TV Africa.